archer. There will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. Okay, chapter 1, text 1. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kimakurvata Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, after assembling in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do, being desirous to fight? Text 2. Sanjaya uvacha Drishtatu pandavanikam vyudham duryodhanastada acharyam upasangamya rajavachanam abravit. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army gathered by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and began to speak the following words. Text 3. Pashyaitam pandaputranam acharya mahatim samum vyudham duparaputrena tava shishyena dhimata. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada. Text 4. Atra sura maheshwasam bhimarjuna samayudhi yuyudano viratascha drupadascha maharataha. Here in this army, there are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. There are also great fighters like Yudhana, Virata, and Drupada. Okay, last text, text 5. Trishtaketush Chekitana, Kashirajas Chaviryavan, Purujit Kuntibojascha, Shaibhyascha Narapungava. Translation, there are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraja, Purujit, Kuntiboja, and Shaibhya. So check out. Oh, one more. Text 6. Yudhamanyuscha vikranta uttamojascha viryavan subhadro dropadeyascha sarva eva maharataha. There are mighty Yudhamanyu. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamoja, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. Okay, back to text, chapter 18, text 74. The translation and purport. Sanjaya said, and thus I have heard the conversation of two great souls, Krishna and Arjuna. And so wonderful is that message that my hair is standing on end. Purport. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Dhritarashtra inquired from his secretary, Sanjaya, what happened in the battlefield of Kurukshetra? The entire study was related to the heart of Sanjaya by the grace was related to the heart of Sanjaya by the grace of his spiritual master Vyasa. And thus he explained the theme of the battlefield. The conversation was so wonderful because such an important conversation between two great souls never took place before and would not take place again. It is wonderful because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is speaking about himself and his energies to the living entity. Arjuna, a great devotee of the Lord. If we follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna, then our life will be happy and successful. Sanjaya realized this, and as he began to understand it, he related the conversation to Dhritarashtra. Now it is concluded that wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is victory. We'd love to hear from Maharaj. Any comments?
Could be a greater conversation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead speaking about himself. This is astonishing and should make everyone wake up and say, well, I definitely want to hear that conversation. And it's not that long. It's only an hour or so. 2 hours discussion. And he spoke to, in the midst of quite an august assemblage. These warriors, greatest warriors in the world, were present. And some of them were not just warriors, but they were great learned persons. Bhishma Dev was one of the 12 Mahajans. He's so learned. And formerly he was the Vasus, 8 Vasus. A very elevated person in society, heavenly society. And not only that, but everyone was concerned with how this battle is going to go. It seemed like the whole world would be influenced by this battle. It was a world war. And Krishna was acting as a charioteer. That's amazing. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's acting as a charioteer, driving the chariot. For his devotee Arjuna. And Arjuna, being such a good-hearted soul, he would prefer to have taken the humble position and not tried to occupy the throne. He was prepared to give it up. Even though they were trying to take it unfairly, without justice. The other side. So Krishna didn't want Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana to rule anymore. And he wanted to encourage Arjuna to go ahead, because without Arjuna, that would be difficult to win. He was the greatest archer. Even though Krishna could make the outcome what he wanted, because he's Supreme Controller, still he wanted to, for the sake of his dear friend Arjuna, save him from being criticized. And all of Krishna's dynasties would be criticized if Arjuna, such a close friend of the Lord, were not to fight. So Krishna made a special effort, and he gave such a beautiful discussion. People are always marveling about Bhagavad Gita. So many persons have read it. Such an ancient book, 5,000 years old. That's an old book for this planet, this Earth. And yet it's being read more and more every day. People are reading it and getting fresh realizations. Not that one should speculate and try to make up all kinds of different meanings and philosophies. Shouldn't do that. But if one reads this book again and again, he'll get the answers to life, and he'll be properly directed on the path. This is the path of back to Godhead. If someone says, I don't know what to do in my life, read Bhagavad Gita and follow it. That's it. That's the simple answer. And that's a perfect answer. Now, if you need some help in how to follow that, then you ask someone who's in the line, who's fully dedicated to Krishna and carrying out Krishna's instructions and understanding them. Then that'll be very nice. Just like when someone goes to study some particular field, say in surgery or something like that, So he learns from the book. That means he's learning from previous scholars, experts. And then he has a teacher also that's right there with him, going over day to day. Do you understand what this means? Do you understand what it means? Because no one can get a high degree, high recommendation unless he's studied under someone personally, an expert. You cannot, if someone says, I read the books and now I'm ready to do the surgery, bring on the patients. There'll be objection. You need to be approved by someone who's been approved and trained by the system. In this way, Krishna's instructions go on, and they'll continue to shine brightly because there's no better knowledge than this. Who could have better knowledge than God himself? All the questions that we want to know are answered here. Of course, they're answered in brief. Krishna says many times, I'm giving brief answers. There are further explanations given in the Puranas and the Upanishads and Mahabharata, so many other Shastras, Samhitas. One can go further into this knowledge and understand it. But Bhagavad Gita is the concise conclusion of the Vedas. Therefore, instead of reading all the Vedas, which is a difficult task, and probably not understanding all of them, better just read one, Bhagavad Gita. Summarizes everything. And fortunately, there is some connection with the Sampradaya still, where one can learn the same things that Brahma learned from Krishna, and Narad Muni learned from Brahma, and Arjuna learned from Krishna. Same thing are being presented now. No one should feel morose that they're unfortunate. They missed Krishna's appearance. They missed Lord Chaitanya's appearance. Maybe they missed Prabhupada's appearance. So they feel maybe they're unfortunate. No, they're very fortunate. Because we have the same book, same teaching, same purports. We have the same system is carrying on. And therefore, there's no break. There's no break. Just like electricity can go for miles. As long as there's no break in the wire, there's a break in the wire. That's it. And Krishna detected there was a break in the passing down at this time. And because there's a break in the, I am coming again to reestablish principles. Imam Vyasate Yogam Proktivana Hamaviyam Vishvan Manave Pakur Mana Ikshvakave Pavi. He instructed this formerly also to the sun god, the Vishwan instructor to his son Manu instructor to Ikshvaku. But somehow or other, there was a break in the chain. Therefore, Krishna wanted to establish Arjuna as the primary disciple. Someone might point out that isn't Brahma the primary disciple and he's still living, so how is there a break? Then you could say there was a break in the Kshatriya line because oftentimes the kings, the ruling kings were they became the most important teachers. It's like in the 12 Mahajans, Bhishma Dev was one of them. He's a Kshatriya. And Manu's a Kshatriya. What do we have? So we have Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu. Those three are, well, Shiva, you could say, not exactly a Kshatriya, he's not exactly a Brahmana, he's what he is. It's Lord Shiva. Then Komara, they're Brahmins. Kapila, Brahman. Manu, Kshatriya. Prahlada, yeah. Prahlada, Janaka, Kshatriya. Prahlada, Janaka, Bhishma, Kshatriya. Then Balir, Kshatriya. Bali Maharaj. They're Vyasaki, Brahman. That's Shukadeva Goswami. And Vayam, Yamaraj, another Kshatriya. So it's split. Kshatriyas and Brahman. But in this line, there are kings. And I have instructed sailing kings now. Anyway, there's no difference in the teaching from Krishna to Brahma and Krishna to Arjuna. Teaching is the same quality. You'll never say, don't hear things that contradict each other. In the Vedas, there's no contradictions. There may be a higher understanding that not everyone is able to immediately understand, but we shouldn't think that it's a contradiction just because I can't understand it. We have to be patient, go on with our practice. It's a process. And just like if you put seeds in the ground and you don't see any fruit coming up within 3 or 4 days, doesn't mean that seeds aren't doing their work. Seeds are growing. Take some time, be patient. For valuable trees like pomegranates, one has to be patient. Take some time for it to grow. So you have to take some time. Go on with the practice. Don't give up the practice saying that it's not working for me. It will work for you if you continue the practice. If you stop the practice, it's like if you stop watering the seeds to the tree, then it'll die. It'll dry up. It requires it. But don't stop the hearing and chanting and the service. All these things, they're all necessary. They're all part of Bhakti Yoga. And then we'll be able to also understand Bhagavad Gita. It's very nice to be able to understand because you can explain to everyone else. Nobody in the world understands Bhagavad Gita. There have been many misleaders who like to use Bhagavad Gita to present their own philosophy under the guise of this is Bhagavad Gita. To present their own philosophy. That's not fair. That's misleading to the public. And Bhagavad Gita, as it is, stands very gloriously as the definitive book, Bhagavad Gita, the definitive edition, as it is, as Krishna spoke it. He's letting Krishna speak it himself, not putting words in his mouth or giving different meanings. That's the way to understand Bhagavad Gita. And then it becomes very easy. With the help of with the help of the expert teacher, very easy to understand Bhagavad Gita. It's not meant to bewilder one, not meant to make them confused. Generally, people, when they read other versions of Bhagavad Gita, other books, and ask them, so where do you understand it? I don't understand anything. And get it. And that's not surprising because it can only be understood bhakti maham abhijanati yavanyasya tatvat tomam tatto gyavavishitetan. Krishna can only be understood through the process of bhakti. He doesn't wish to be understood by anyone else. He has no interest. If someone is not interested in serving him, then let them do what they want. Techasita Thakura. He told Arjuna, now you've heard Bhagavad Gita, do what you wish to do. Krishna doesn't take away anyone's free will. People criticize him for that too. They criticize him that if you surrender to him and you have to follow his instructions, lost your free will. And they criticize him, how do you give us free will? We misuse it and then we get in trouble. And you punish us. Why don't you just stop us from... So it's not difficult, it's not easy to be God. Please everyone. But Krishna has a wonderful system. Otherwise, what would life be if without Krishna consciousness, I don't really see much purpose in anybody's life. Because what are they doing? Eating, sleeping, mating, and depending. Then die. Get some disease, get old age, and die. Well, what did he achieve? Well, he opened 14 hospitals. He gave so much money to the research on this type of cancer. He's a wonderful man. Okay, that's nice. But where's he now? Do you know where he is? They don't know where he is. Is he still alive? They don't know. Some will say, yes, he went to heaven. Heaven is a place for very pious souls. One has to be pious to go there. Has to perform all kinds of sacrifices and purificatory fasting, giving charity at the right time, the right place, performing special ceremonies, bathing, hearing shrutis, hearing the scriptures, so many different types of things to get to the heavenly planets, performing Ashwamedha sacrifice, sparing oneself of the sins that one's accrued. And it's not easy to go to the heavenly planets. So if someone is qualified to go, that's very nice. It's nice, but then again, it's not the real point. Because, well, why not? Because again, they're simply trying to satisfy their own senses, which are not possible to satisfy. Because we're not this body. We're trying to be satisfied by pleasing senses of this body that I'm not. How is it possible I'm going to be happy? The real me, how can I be happy? Just even if the senses are satisfied, they won't be satisfied. But even if they could be satisfied, I wouldn't be happy. What to speak of the senses aren't satisfied either. Then how can I be happy in such a state? I have to get out of this consciousness of thinking we're the bodies. People say, well, how do you do that? You don't do it by cutting off your arms and legs. You just use everything in Krishna's service. Use your arms, use your legs, use your head. Use all these things in Krishna's service. And that way you'll realize you're the soul, because that's what Krishna wants us to do. He wants us to use everything. Manasa deha geha cho kichmur aprilatu apadina. My home, my family, my wealth, my body, everything I have, I offer to you, Krishna. That's how to get off the body platform.
Thank you, Maharaj. Any devotees have comments or anything? This for
Hey Krishna. It's just a comment. I was just thinking early on when Maharaj was speaking, I had this thought where, they're having this conversation that's just, a very short period of time. And we read over and over and over and over, but, they're just having a short conversation. And, imagine how many conversations we have with people. Anyways, I was thinking, like, how did Arjuna just like hear in like that moment and just like accept it all right away? And then I was thinking, there's such an impetus for action because they're on this battlefield. So Arjuna clearly wasn't in tamogun. He wasn't in ignorance. He was doubting what he should do. That's like for the highest dharma. But for us conditioned souls, we're very conditioned to tamogun. We don't want to act. So we don't take the impetus of actually following up the instructions right away, rapidly. Like Arjuna, he just clearly took everything and acted because there's a whole battle in front of us. But similarly, we have a battle in front of us, but because we're conditioned to tamogun, we're not so keen on seeing it. And usually the enemy is, behind the lines where you don't want them, your mind, basically, because we're just conditioned to seeing things. So, to be able to follow and implement everything, rapidly, just like Arjuna to things. But then later on, Arjuna had difficulties as well, in the Mahabharata, and we hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then he recounts of how remembering Krishna's conversation on the battlefield, remembering those moments, and he gains strength. So we can take Krishna's instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, apply it to our lives, and occasionally we'll hit difficulties, and then we have to, go back and remember, and go deeper. And the more we apply, the more growth, more realization, perseverance, and everything desirable. But without the Bhagavad Gita, we could go to a bookstore now. There's like 1 million self-help books. You go on YouTube, everybody has like a channel, but nobody knows the goal of life. Nobody even has like a close understanding of it. So if we just simply hear and study the Bhagavad Gita deeply, life becomes crystal clear of what to do, how to act, and why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. And then in that way it gives us like closure, because we understand the situation we're dealing with, and then it becomes, how do you say, like you could deal with it very easily, even though it may be difficult. So knowledge is power. Few thoughts.
Yeah, the power of the Bhagavad Gita, all these things become easy to cross over. Mameva ye prabhadete, maya metam tarantite. Becomes easy to cross over. This maya, this illusion becomes easy. And Narottam Das Thakur says, Chakuran diloje janme janme prabhu se divyagan nire prakashito. It's the spiritual master opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. Hema bhakti jaha hote avidya me nasha jate. So yeah, Chakudan Divaje, Janme Janme Prabhu say that the Prabhu, the Lord, the master, the spiritual master, he opens our darkened eyes and he fills our heart with transcendental knowledge. And this is the theme throughout the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very important thing. It's even spoken by Sanjaya, who's a disciple of Vyasadeva. Bestowed upon his disciple Sanjaya the divine vision to see the Bhagavad Gita and relay that to Dhritarashtra after the fact. He was remotely viewing this Bhagavad Gita. So that power, that divine vision was given by his spiritual master Vyasadeva. And so this same vision has been given, in that chain of specific succession and made accessible to us by the mercy of the spiritual master. And this conversation between God and his dearmost devotee, friend, and disciple Arjuna is so relevant. It's eternally relevant. Therefore, everybody's always interested in it time and time again, mostly for their own nefarious reasons. But the understanding is being given in parampara, and those who are sincerely eager to understand the real meaning of it can unpack it through the mercy of the spiritual master. They can dive into it and understand it. And the Lord, Krishna is so kindly, compassionately giving Arjuna, preaching to Arjuna, his friend and devotee, this message of the Bhagavad Gita, which is so relevant. Everybody nowadays they're just tuning into different conversations from their favorite people. And what are they trying to do? They're trying to extract some nuggets of gold and nectar, which aren't actually really there. Maybe some knowledge is there, but mainly just trying to distract them from their mind, their suffering condition. But God, Krishna, He knows the condition of the living entity through and through, and He's expertly able to elucidate that condition for us and give us the remedial measures that we need to take in order to go beyond those. Mamprapade evam mamprapade evam mayam durantite. But to come beyond this maya, this misunderstanding that we've fallen into, the suffering that we've fallen into. And so he gives the actual process for dealing with these things. The mind is so troublesome. It's very difficult to overcome, but the Lord gives us the knowledge by which we can actually do so. And He gives so many scientific processes in the Bhagavad Gita that are aimed at doing this. And simply put it, how to overcome the mind? Well, we think about the Lord, And He gives different processes, the mystical yoga system, Ashtanga yoga. He gives this process, which is actually not viable in this age, Kali Yuga. He gives that process, he elucidates on that. And the yogis who practice that would see the Lord as the Paramatma and all of His exquisite beauty is present there. His beautiful face, His beautiful ornaments, His earrings, His belt. Well, they're gold. Sometimes Krishna is described as having shark-shaped earrings. Ooh, but Paramatma is the four-handed Vishnu form. He might just have elaborate gold earrings. I'm not sure. I don't know. But he gives the process of karma yoga, jnana yoga. All these processes are aimed at him, at attaining him, at being able to meditate upon him. But ultimately, he gives the process of bhakti yoga, which those who practice bhakti yoga, they actually get to go to him personally and serve him. Personally serve him, just like Dhruva Maharaj was practicing Ashtanga Yoga. He's doing all these elaborate, austere practices that are impossible to perform now. But then he was meditating on the Lord, with so much determination, absorbed in that, in the Lord within his heart. He attracted the attention of the Lord, and then the Lord personally came there and broke his meditation, and he opened his eyes and he saw the Lord right there, and immediately he went down and he was kissing the Lord's feet and hugging him and crying in this ecstasy. So that's the perfection of the devotee's life, is to be able to do that, to associate with the Lord very intimately like that. It's beyond Paramama realization, what to speak of Brahman, or the living entity is just situated in the effulgence of the Lord, and he's thinking, this existence is eternal, it's peaceful because it's free from material suffering, but it doesn't have that quality of ananda from associating with the Lord personally. So Krishna ultimately gives this topmost process, bhakti yoga. And this process is so nice because it directly uproots all the desires within the heart, which are causing so many problems. So it's the most superior process for, it's the goal of life, the perfection of life. Within that, automatically the mind is peaceful eternally, because the desires that are causing the mind so much suffering are uprooted completely. And not only that, but from that, everything follows. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. All of the goals of life which are given in the Vedas immediately automatically follow this, the topmost, yoga system, bhakti yoga, and devotional service. Bhakti yoga means devotional service, which primarily we practice devotional service with faith, by faithfully chanting about the Lord and hearing about the Lord. That's the process. It's direct. It's immediate. There's no middleman. It's the most direct process for God realization and self-realization. And it takes one the farthest. And it penetrates the deepest within the heart and removes all of those unwanted things perfectly and for good, eternally, which these other processes definitely that are given in the Bhagavad Gita are not as transcendently perfect, but they're still transcendental. And they bring one to the transcendental platform. But this Bhakti Yoga is the perfect message that Krishna is giving to Arjuna, perfect process that he's giving. And certainly other processes that we find in this age for doing this, trying to heal the mind and trying to understand the condition of the living entity, the human, more specifically for a lot of these other things like psychology and whatnot. We're just trying to understand the human condition. We arrive at these conclusions and these processes through imperfect methods. So they don't perfectly, encompass. Not everything is in these processes that we need for achieving full perfection, understanding our condition perfectly. Something is there, sure. But this knowledge is arrived from, an imperfect method, sense perception and speculation. So they're not fully dependable, not fully reliable. But we can apply certain aspects of it and then engage in devotional service, but can't depend on these other processes. It doesn't get to the root of the problem. And then there's alternative healing methods in the world. Different things that people are really attached to doing. Taking certain medicines and having certain experiences and delving into their psyche and becoming aware of certain problems that they have, karmas that they have. And they get a little relief from this, but it's not perfect because they still have those material desires which are causing so many problems for them, and then they go immediately after they feel good again and then commit those same things, you know? So as devotees, we're not falling for this, and Jiva Doya, compassion for the living entities, the devotees go out and they actually give the real thing by which living entities can actually uproot those desires which are causing so much problems for good and become perfectly situated in their real existence, you know, for eternity. So the Bhagavad Gita is wonderful, transcendental conversation, and it's supremely relevant at all times, forever. So anyways, that's all the time we have. Anyone have any comments or anything? Okay, Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.